Yes, people, welcome back to talkSPORT Arsenal, and it is another happy Monday, another good day to record the pod with my boys Luke, Henry and CJ, aka Deluded Gooner. Boys, before we talk football, I can see the smiles, I can see the glee in your faces. How are we feeling? Everyone good, Luke? You good?
Yeah, great. Really nice weekend. I did a show on Sunday. Went out on Friday for a networking event. Not quite sure what happened on Saturday. Does anyone want to remind me? No, great weekend, boys. This is we're trying to get not to get too carried away. But we'll talk about the game obviously in more detail. But
Yeah.
Monday morning, there's a little spring in our steps. And I think we deserve that.
Nah, there's definitely a spring in the steps. DG, we'll come to you first, but obviously Arsenal beat Everton 2-0 at home in one of the later kickoffs on Saturday. A tough game, a very tough game. Everton came and they turned up. They did make it easy for us. David Moyes' side tested David Raya as well. But it was a day of milestones. It was a day that saw Max Dowman get his first Premier League goal, the youngest ever Premier League goal scorer. We'll talk a lot more about Max. Gyökeres getting his 16th goal of the season. We'll talk a lot about Victor Gyökeres. But after we got that win, Man City drew, dropping points away to West Ham, relegation battle in West Ham. DG, it was a huge Saturday night for us. It's given us a 9-point lead at the top of the table, albeit with a game in hand. City do have that extra game to play, but we're in a very strong position. DG, how important was that result against Everton on Saturday night, and how does that shape the Premier League title race?
I mean, you said it all there, man. Between you and Luke and all of what you lot said initially, and obviously how we've done a couple of shows. It's the obvious, innit? We win our games, we win the league. Every point is to play for. City dropped 2 big points against West Ham. It was obviously poetic that Mavropanos scored and it happened from a corner. We had to do our job, man. Like, we knew. I think our recent form, our recent form against Everton's probably been a bit better, innit? But I do think Everton feels like a bulky team, or not like a bulky team, typically where we kind of drop points. We had to rely on a penalty. Yeah, exactly. Like, we had to rely on a penalty in the reverse fixture. You get how you live in it, go and win the game. In relation to the game on Saturday, the overview is we need to get the 3 points. We had a 7-point lead. We knew at best it could change to 10 points, albeit with, at the point, 2 games in hand. But minimum is doing our job, and we done that. We got a clean sheet. We got a clean sheet. We scored enough goals. Obviously, we got the 3 points. Max Dowman stood up tall as a very young man, and that youthful exuberance, and just as dumb as it is, and the backdrop of what Arsenal are fighting for, the fact that he's just a kid playing football, he goes off script against a stubborn Everton unit. It was written in the stars that he got his goal, and obviously he helped for the first one. Big up Gyökeres, as you said, 16 goals. He's won us a lot of games, but it was a team effort, man. Like, I do feel generally, if there was one criticism of this Arsenal team, despite the fact that people say we're boring, the underlying metrics are there. You look at goals from open play, set pieces, touching the up box, how deep we play against defences, and how high ours is statistically. There's a lot of good things, but I think we need to kind of gel in an attacking sense. Now, generally, I think we've had a chance creation and conversion issue regardless of the stats. I do feel we created chances against Everton. I don't feel necessarily the quality was there. I do think it was a better attacking display than I've become accustomed for in the last couple of weeks. But we done the job in it. David Raya had to stand up tall. The first half was a weird one in that I think it was all Arsenal personally, but if I had to say which keeper had to kind of bail us out, it obviously was Raya. There was that incident where he kind of got his bearings wrong, and Calafiori with an acrobatic clearance. There was another incident where they obviously hit the bar. You get it? But we done our job, man. Obviously I would have loved to have seen Saka score, but I think we stood up tall, man. I think Calafiori initially looked very good. I think Kai, even though he's not really fit, did what he could. I think Zubamendi, I know he's been in line for a lot of criticisms. I think he kind of got back to his best. The worst thing about Saturday, obviously, for me is, Timber's picked up a knock, and I'm not quite sure of what's going on there. And we knew it. David Moyes, Everton's away form is immaculate in recent forms. We know they're a stubborn unit to break down, and we know that's said for most Premier League games. Of course, I wanted to score early. I wouldn't have preferred it to have been as dramatic. But one thing about us and our team, we never give up in it. They never stop dying. They never give up until it's all over. They never stop trying until it's all over. And we did exactly that, man. Like the subs, the impactors, the finishers, whatever Mikel Arteta refers to them as. I think we've scored 11 goals this season from like subs. So all in all, whether it was the starters, whether it was the people who came off the bench, we did what we needed to do. We got 3 points. And I can't lie, lads, it feels like the stars are aligning. I know we got to put the left left foot in front of the right. There's a lot to play for. The mathematics can look good or cruel, but it feels like it's our time. It feels like after 20 odd years, it's now time. And by hook or by crook, just get this over the line, and let's make sure we're all available for a parade in May, innit?
Hey, should we do
Simple.
it? Let's talk about Dowman. Because I was gonna wait, but I can't. I can't. As soon as CJ mentioned him coming off the bench and changing the game, and interestingly, you said you would have preferred us to score a little bit earlier, but you know what? I actually think it's one of their moments. I know everyone remembers Reece Nelson from a few years back against Bournemouth, the late goal.
Yeah, Dowman's gone down in history, man.
Like that's
Already.
the moment where it just cements you as part of Arsenal folklore. Like you come off the bench, 16-year-old Wayne Rooney vibes, and you just take the game by the scruff of its neck. Gyökeres' goal, he puts the ball into the box, which Nkapie squares for. For me, and I'm going to ask you boys a different question in a minute, but with Max Dowman, when I look at him, it's fearlessness. You see young Rio Ngamoa make his first Premier League start for Liverpool yesterday, and he's fearless as well. These young kids, they've got no pressure. There's no real expectation, but with Max Dowman, he's already been playing in the FA Cup. He played in pre-season for us before the start of the season. He looks
Came on at Anfield as well.
Yeah, when we were chasing the game,
Yeah.
and Ethan Wanyeri was left on the bench, and we were all like, why did Arteta bring Dowman on? And I think we're starting to see it. Even Wanyeri going on loan, I've criticised and questioned that decision. And then when you see how Dowman plays, the confidence, the fearlessness, you start understanding why there's so much faith put in him. But Luke, I just wanted to sort of ask you boys, with Dowman, do we have to protect him? Do you just let him go? We know we've seen players like Rooney, as I mentioned, Jude Bellingham, Lamine Yamal has played over 100, 200 games in his career already. What do you do with a player of this talent? Do you just have to sort of let him play and not hide him?
It's a combination of both. We can't forget that he's at school right now. He's got his GCSEs to do.
I know we walked into school feeling good this morning,
Yeah,
boys.
I mean,
my
we're gonna walk into work later on feeling good, but imagine what he's gonna be feeling like when he walks into school with his boys at lunchtime. Look, it's an interesting one because I've been asked time and time again about Max Dowman and how many times do I think he's going to play in the Premier League. This was at the start of the season when he came on against Leeds for the last 25 minutes. Even then, I was surprised, but we were 4-0 up. I think what Arteta did on Saturday was nothing short of remarkable. To put it in the context of, and football's a funny game because I touched on what CJ said. I actually thought we were excellent for 30 minutes in that first half. I thought we played some of the best attacking football that we've seen in recent weeks. I completely agree. I thought Eze was very good. I thought the combinations with Kai, I thought we were more fluid.
Yeah.
I thought we were really good, but as the scoreline stays to 0-0, and then that second half where you look like you're starting to run out of ideas and chances, Eze again having a couple of shots, which I liked, a bit more being a bit more instinctive.
Yeah.
You see Dowman warming up, and you're just thinking, okay, firstly, who's he coming on for? Because I'm thinking, I know Saka's not having his best game again, but you can't take Saka off, really. You just don't want to take Saka off.
No, you couldn't.
And then you're thinking, and people say, does he take Zubimendi off around me? I'm thinking, did he take Zubimendi off? Could play Rice and Eze, and he does. And you've got to give credit to the manager to do that. I didn't agree with his first two substitutions, I have to be honest, even though Gyökeres scored, because I thought Noni and Kai were good, and I didn't really understand the reason to take them off, because probably fitness is a reason. But yeah, and then, as Arteta said at the end of the game, it's you look back at that moment and say to yourself, I was there. And it isn't just the goal itself, it was generally his play to come on at 16, demand the ball. I think his first touch he tried to go on the outside of Mikalenko, and I thought, 16 years old, just to try and go on the outside of him and beat him straight away, the intent and the purposeness was there. And he did just change the game. Every time he got the ball, the crowd were excited, and it was like he's a 16-year-old kid, but he's got to come to the playground. And it was just, looking back, it was just remarkable. And then what happened at the end with the goal, the header. Oh, the header is just a little stroke of genius. And then the little shimmy to go past Dewsbury Hall. And then the celebrations. I think the celebrations were a moment that will live forever for him, for the players, for Arteta, for his family who are massive Arsenal fans. And he might have just pushed us very close to a Premier League title at the age of 16. And you said Wayne Rooney, and that was the first thing I thought, remember the name.
Yeah.
And I know you're going to ask me this because we were speaking just before we came on, and you said, who does he remind you of?
Yeah.
He doesn't. I don't know who he reminds me of because I've never seen anything quite like it. Because I'm not going to put the comparisons to Messi yet because I think that's just
It's too early. It's way too soon, the
early for
Messi
that.
talk.
In terms of a 16-year-old to come onto a pitch with 15 minutes to go, with a nervy atmosphere in a title race, and to do what he did, the assist. I'll give him the assist. I know it come off in Capier, but the pre-assist, the goal, the change of the game, yeah, fair play. Fair play. What a moment that will be in the Emirates history. Max Dowman, 16 years, the youngest ever Premier League goal scorer. And that is a seismic moment. I can't believe it. Watched that goal a few times as well. Yeah, it's the stuff of dreams, man. Stuff of dreams.
DG, I know you've been watching that goal over and over. I don't know how many goals I watched, how many times I watched
Probably
that
like 200, mate.
Right, easily. Like, I've got some of my Liverpool Man United boys telling me it's not even that good of a goal. Why is everyone getting excited?
Hated.
Like, it's just like, how can you watch that and not just be excited for the boy? Like,
Because
I
it's
just
an
don't
Arsenal
get it.
thing, bro. They're hating, bro. They're hating. It's sour grapes. They don't want us to win. Your boys and my boys, they're all the same. They don't want us to win the league. It's not our fault. It's not our fault that we've got star boys. Wanyeri, obviously out on loan. Miles Lewis-Skelly can't buy a game. We know what they've done. We know what Max Dowman's on. Obviously, it hasn't quite worked out for Reece Nelson, but we know the kind of folklore he's in for that goal against Bournemouth. This is just what we do. We're the culture club. We've got a great academy, and they do what they're doing. Our team is doing what needs to be done. People are just hating. In relation to Max Dowman, the best thing I could say is that's probably the best day of your footballing life. And the worst thing I could say is there's clearly more to come in it. Like, you're 16. That is the best thing you've done. You're going to go down. You're going to be a star. I very rarely try and put labels on people. And of course, we've got to, as much as we can, we've got to take time. We've got to remember, if we think he's got all of this potential, you don't just snap into that tomorrow. You look at like someone like, I don't know, Tony Hawks. Before he became great at obviously being on a skateboard, he probably fell off it a couple of times. So there's a lot of hurdles that Max Dowman's got to go through. There's that element of consistency. There's that element of expectation. A young player's got to add consistency. For argument's sake, if he plays against Leverkusen, has a bit of a wobble, what are people going to say there? Yeah. And obviously, physically, the man's 16, 17. I know he's about 6 foot, but he's still growing, and there's them kind of things. Obviously, right now, he's probably got tactical things that Arteta demands of him, but the short of it, we've all played football here. Go out there and enjoy yourself. Like, that's one thing. It's like a secret weapon. We all know most Premier League games, and David Moyes against Arteta, it's a tactical battle. As Luke said, we're fighting for the title. As Luke and you also said, the game's kind of going down to the wire. We need to get 3 points. There's a bit of nerves. He might just be positively naive. He's not an idiot. He knows what we're fighting for, but I'm happy to be playing for Arsenal. I'm built for this. And that's the biggest testament I have for Max Dowman. He just looks like a young man playing football. In fact, he looks like a young man because he's got braces. He looks like he's just always been here. He doesn't get too excited. He doesn't really get too down. He's just a cold-hearted killer. The most emotion I've seen from him is obviously when he's kicked the corner. His ability to glide, his ability to ride tackles, his ability to get kicked and want to do it again in the Premier League. The man's immaculate. Again, there's many questions to answer. What position is he going to end up in the modern day? You do need to be able to play a couple of roles. He can obviously play right wing. Our left-hand side's been a bit meaty, if we're honest. Maybe potentially could do something out there. Long term, I'm pretty sure we all probably think he's going to play in midfield, but the man's a star. It's a weird one because you have to protect him, and that's what his family are going to do, the gaffer's going to do, but there's not too much protection you can do. At the end of the day, he's done what he's done. He's going to be a star. He's going to play football, and I do think some young players, they're like exceptions to the rules. I think he is. I think we've just got to guide him and just give him minutes and whet the appetite, get the bit between his teeth, and just slowly cook him, as Mikel Arteta said. But there's no doubt the man is one of our most exciting attackers. The man is a player that we're all calling for. And, if we go and win the title, there's a lot of good moments. And one thing I like about our football club, I know we ain't won the title in the last 3 years, fourth time lucky type thing. But when you look at some of these moments, a lot of our players have had their hero moments. Like Marino's had his moments, Rice has had his moments, a number of players have had his moments. So I'm happy for that with Dowman, and above all, they trust him. We know the manager trusts him, but when you're out there, the players are trying to find him. Sometimes you see young players make their debuts or play, don't really get on the ball that much. They're trying to actively find Max Dowman, and the biggest thing we could waffle about his dribbling ability, his ability to score goals, glide passes, man. It's his temperament for me. It's just it's the psychological stuff, because we'll never see it. I've never had a conversation with my man, but you're just one level, and that is probably the greatest facet of your play. I mean, we'll be here all day, innit? I know people are going to compare him to Messi and Yalmao and all of these guys. I'm not comparing him to them lot, Wayne Rooney, Cesc Fabregas. But I do think some people try to become footballers, and I think sometimes the universe gives people a gift. And I genuinely think Max Dowman was created to play football. Like, that was always going to be your script. So long may it continue, man. And between him, Marley Salmon, obviously we hope Wanyeri, Miles Lewis-Skelly, technically Eze and Saka, we win the Premier League. That Haaland picture of them holding it, Arsenal folklore, my boys.
That is, CJ. You said it there, and I know, Luke, you didn't want to attach like a comparison to him, and I agree. I agree with what you boys are saying, and I think he has been given that gift, CJ, that gift, that God-given talent of just
exactly.
He's not phased. He's not phased. He knows how good he is. Not in an arrogant way, just in like a self-belief. And when I first saw Dowman play, and you two might laugh at me and say, "Nah, you're waffling," but hand on heart, boys, when I first saw him play, I thought, he reminds me a bit of KAKA. Now, the only reason I say it is because he's not rapid off the ball. But you see, when he's got the ball, I've not seen many players run in straight lines and not really lose balance as well as him. And I don't want to put too much pressure on him.
We don't have that in our squad as well, man.
We don't. He come on the pitch and completed the most dribbles of any other player that was playing, and he played 15 minutes. That's sort of why I think he's getting these comparisons, because you see Yamal do it at Barcelona currently today, where he just dribbles through players. There's low blocks, there's people in the way, but he finds a way through them. And I just think, you mentioned the header, Luke. That was one of my favourite parts of the goal. The ball's just there, and he's so aggressive to attack the ball. Heads it forward. The defender tries to stop him. He just barges him out of the way. He can just be... I'm actually scared to see how good he can be. And I don't want to put too much pressure on him. But, Luke, like, I'm sure you can understand why me, you, CJ, and all Arsenal fans are praising him so much, man.
Well, you know, it was a 96th minute, right?
Yeah.
And Martinelli's headed it. Look, I'm not being funny, right? He would have been just as much of a hero if he boots that out of the pitch into Rose. We're like, wow, well done. Ref, blow the whistle. But it's the actual intelligence to go, actually, watch this, knock it round him. And the composure, then just to do the little shimmy. That's one. And then Daniel Sturridge was talking about people don't realise how difficult it is because you've got so many thoughts coming through your head. You know, everyone just thinks you can just smash it and the referee will blow the whistle. And we'll be like, oh, great, you know. And we'll talk about Dowman coming on and the cross, even the cross alone and some of the footwork. But the goal was just like, it's just ridiculous. First time I watched him play, I think it was Port Vale away. And there was a ball that he did round the corner to Gyökeres, and Gyökeres couldn't get a shot off.
Yeah.
And I was like, I said, it's taken 60 minutes for someone to put the ball around like that. It's a 15-year-old kid. And then I watched him against Brighton. I watched Brighton in the Cup at the Emirates. And that was the first time I looked at him and went, I don't think this kid's 15, really. I just did that. And thing was struck me was the strength. And it was the keep going. He kept going. And he can hold the ball up. And I was thinking, he's a kid and he's playing against men. But every time he was going, Ben White was obviously playing at right back and he kept giving him the ball, but it was obviously like, you know, talking to him throughout the game. But it was every time he got the ball, he like turned and faced in front of you. And I was thinking, he looks beyond his years. So we've just got to let him enjoy it, let him develop, let him just enjoy his football right now. Don't put any pressure on him. I don't know what's going to happen between now and the end of the season. I think what I do know is that he will probably get minutes against Southampton. I'm not entirely sure what happens tomorrow if he plays any minutes. I don't think he will start it, and I don't know if he'll come on depending on the game. But listen, if we're 3-0 up, then I actually now kind of think he might just come on for 10 minutes to have more, you know, opportunities in the Champions League. But yeah, just let him do what he needs to do. But it's just crazy. And if Arteta is really keen on him and he is now a player that we can rely on and actually include, then listen, we weren't. I wasn't really around, obviously, when we remember the name Wayne Rooney, and then he just bursts onto the scene and stuff like that. Look, we might be just witnessing something like that, so it's hard for us to actually articulate it because we don't know what it's like. Because we're seeing, you know, even with Fabregas, is a little one, 16 years old in 2006 in the Champions League, we're seeing something different that we've probably never seen before, really, that we can remember. So it's like growing up and going, oh yeah, I remember when Max Dowman at 16 years old come on. Scored the goal in the title race, and then I watched his career blossom and develop into something incredible. But we don't know that yet, so just take it game by game. But yeah, wow, what a moment, guys! What a moment! It's probably one of the best moments in the Emirates era, right? I guess.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's up there. No, it's up there. It's up there. Well, another man who come off the bench to help us get that win over Everton was Victor Gyökeres. And boys,
Yeah.
CJ does the celebration there. The mask has been. I don't think any player gets the sort of reaction that when they score, Gyökeres does. Whenever he scores, it just feels like the players lose their minds, the fans lose, because we want him to do well. He's that marquee striker signing. And me and CJ, I've said it numerous times in the summer when I was on your channel. I thought he was the man. Gunman, bagsman, 97 goals in 102 games. For me, it was just like, get him. He scores goals. That's what he does. And even his goal to put us 1-0 up, that's the sort of goal I like to see him score, because he's been criticised this season where the ball's broken in the 6-yard box or in the box and Gyökeres hasn't been there to tap it in. But he was there against Everton. As I said, 16 goals in all competitions now, 18 goals and assists. You maybe would have wanted it to be higher, but fair season, most goals and assists in our team at the minute. And I think the history books are going to be kind to Gyökeres. The man who joins the club in the summer, marquee signing, and as we're all saying and what we're seeing, it's looking like he could get us over the line in the Premier League title race. And against Everton, his goals have pretty much guaranteed us 6 points. So, CJ, we've always supported Victor Gyökeres. We've always thought he would come to fruition. But how impressed have you been with Gyökeres, not only on the pitch, but mentally to deal with all the criticism, the stick? He's had Arsenal fans saying we should sell him in the summer, which I think was crazy. But how impressed are you, CJ, with Gyökeres at the minute?
I mean, if there's one thing I like about Gyökeres, I always say, and I said it to you, I've said it to Luke, it's so ugly, it's beautiful. I mean, he's never going to be the prettiest girl in the party, is he? But if he's just putting the ball in the back, if you just put the ball in the back of the net, we love you for that. That is the most difficult thing. The goal he scored against Brighton, away from the magnitude and the context and the obvious reasons, that's all I've wanted to see from Gyökeres. I know general play, all of that kind of jazz is prevalent and relevant to this current day. I think he's done that. But balls in the back of the net and confidence is infectious. And, I do think it's the fruits of his labour, because he's clearly been working hard in training. He's never lost the trust of his manager or his teammates. He's just kept going. And whatever you do in the dark, it comes to light. And like you said, I think away from the obvious of us wanting a star striker, wanting him to do well, I just think he's a very likeable kind of guy. You can, nobody likes someone to be scapegoated. There is healthy criticisms internally and externally, but we all know with the Arsenal tax, the amount of, I wouldn't even say pressure, the amount of noise with anything with Arsenal. When Gyökeres isn't scoring, there's an issue. When he's scoring, they criticise the way he's scoring goals. Anytime he can score, it's great. And you know what? It'll be a fantastic story. He helped Sporting Lisbon end their drought. He could obviously help us win ours. One thing I've never questioned with Gyökeres is his mentality, because that's something Mikel Arteta is big on, innit? Whenever we sign a player and the Athletic and all of them journalists come out, they talk a lot about the character, a lot about how they live on and off the field. And when I married that into when Arteta was making comments with, if you're a striker whose head drops when you haven't scored in 8 or 9 games, this ain't the kind of club for you. We all know how big the crest is. He's come here, he's taken the number 14. We all know, how protracted it was for him to sign for Arsenal and all the kind of noise. I do think he's not an idiot in the sense that he knows there's going to be adjustment periods, there's going to be highs and lows, there's going to be an element of pressure. He knows the Premier League is difficult. But I think this with a lot of players, actually. I think they know it, but when you're fully in it, it's like a bit of a wow. One thing I've never questioned is his mentality, because if you look in his career, and I've said this to you lot before, his career is themed by adversity. In his homeland, he was doubted to make it. At Coventry, actually, he was doubted to make it. He actually said the other day, I know everyone looks at me at Sporting Lisbon and I was good, but it actually started with a lot of question marks. So he's always kind of reacted to it, and he's never lost the faith of his teammates. We all know, and you lot were attackers. I'm a right and left back at Sunday League. In the modern day,
Dad as a winger, CJ.
I clearly weren't that good, mate. I'll tell you that. What was I gonna say? Yeah, obviously when he signed for us, let's have it right. In the modern day, being strikers are like the sacrificial lambs. The wingers get more, or inside forwards get more space. The late runners in our team, the fullbacks, strikers. You got to occupy the centre backs. You got to drop into midfield and things of that ilk. And there's obviously been games he's started and done well, but typically when we're missing, when we don't have, when we're playing a mid or low block, you're not gonna get much change. I knew he would score. I don't want to be a know-it-all, but I knew he would score off the bench against Everton. A bit like how I said, I watched Aston Villa, Man United, didn't it, on my YouTube channel, and I told my subscribers, listen, Sesko's going to score. Just because they're coming on against tired legs, there's more space to kind of go and do your thing. I just like the fact that Gyökeres obviously bagged and what it means for him and how it kind of, helps him with this run of the end of the season, but also his confidence. I kind of touched on it, and if there was one criticism of Arteta, like, as much as it pains me, I personally think we're 90% of the way, to the point where if we had a meal, all it's missing is some oxtail gravy in terms of our attacking it. I've been very, very critical on that, but it's like, I don't think that's going to change. So for me, I'm just looking at a purple patch, boys. Like, which player can just, whether it's Max Dowman gets a couple of opportunities and just runs with it, Saka finds his feet, Eze does something. Can someone just put themselves further in Arsenal folklore? And it's always nice to see Gyökeres back. I feel sorry for Gyökeres in that. Not even feel sorry, but the whole drama of the game, Max Dowman, what it means, talking about City, Hincapie's challenge. He's kind of been lost, but it just shows you why you need a team. He scored. He obviously had that defensive header, and everybody's just mucking in to get this thing over the line, and that's what we need. Like, it doesn't have to be pretty, but it does need to be done, and it's a shout out to Gyökeres, man. Big him up. Simple.
Luke, talk to me.
Right, okay. Let's.
You're having Gyökeres, isn't it? Because you're worrying me, Luke.
No, I am. But I think.
Oh, he said, but CJ.
No. I think if we're gonna have. No. I think what I'm about to say is maybe, and I can't speak for everyone, but maybe we just got the whole signing wrong. And what I mean by that is there was this notion that we call it the marquee signing, this notion that he was going to get us over the line, but perhaps actually the importance of the signing of Victor Gyökeres was for games against Everton, for goals against Sunderland, for goals against Leeds away. And those tight games, those low blocks, the goal at the Emirates against Nottingham Forest to make it 2-0, those games when you look back at the end of the season and go, oh, actually, that's it. Because Arsenal have never really in recent seasons had a problem against the big sides. Our Achilles heel has been, to break down in Newcastle, to break down a Fulham at home. And if you watch him Fulham away, he had 2 great chances. And if you watch him against Newcastle away at St James's Park, should have won us a penalty and was very, very good in the first half and was quite sacrificial because they had to play a back 3 and then we got on goals from elsewhere. So maybe we've all just interpreted the signing wrong. And, CJ, you mentioned it about mentality. He's got a very, very good mentality. I look at Hincapie, the way we signed him.
Warrior.
Leverkusen, good mentality. You've got Zubimendi, who was in the Euros final, good mentality. I think there has been a shift in the recruitment process in the summer about mentality. And we probably look at Benjamin Sesko and think, oh, there's a player there that you could develop over time. But I think Arsenal are in a situation now where they want to develop over time. They want to strike with the present. And I think Gyökeres has got more of a mental understanding to realise what he needs to do for the sake of the team, to be less selfish.
He's also been in a title race as well.
And he's been in a title race as well. So I think putting that all together, that's why I was like, because it's not a negative. It's just trying to understand the signing because,
I get that.
He wants to be the main man, but he might be the main man in another way, and that might be quite hard to understand. But what I mean by that is you're not going to rely on him to score a hat-trick week in, week out, because I don't think we give our strikers enough service for that to even happen. So he's got to adapt to us as much as we've got to adapt to him. Listen, if I'm being brutally honest, in the game alone against Everton, I think you see the difference between Kai and Gyökeres, because Gyökeres didn't do anything off the ball in terms of running. He very rarely made any runs, any movement. Kai was drifting in different positions, which is fine because they're completely different profiles. So you have that difference in your strikers so you can change the game when you need to. But in those situations, we need more from our midfielders to help out Gyökeres. And that's why I think in the Champions League, I know he struggled after probably I think the whole team did after Leverkusen. But in the first 25 minutes, if you look at the combinations he had with Eze in the Champions League in the space, I've always been quite big on this. I think Gyökeres will be influential for us in the later stages in the Champions League, provided we get through tomorrow, because that game is still all to play for. I think he's going to have a big say in the Champions League. I'm delighted for him. I do feel a little bit sorry, actually, because he actually scored us the winning goal. I know Dowman's obviously taken over because of what happened and the defensive action at the end for the header. But he understands that he's in a team. And also, when you hear his interviews after the North London derby, just scored 2 goals, was very, very level-headed. It was like, the job's not done, we know what we need to do. You understand that he can reflect that, and that can go around the rest of the team. And I don't know if you've seen this little clip of him doing the training at the start of the game with all the little skills. I think people have
this real? For some reason, I thought that was AI.
It's real, man.
I think people have this misconception that he's not this brilliant footballer. He probably isn't aesthetically pleasing because of the strikers we've seen in our time. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he's not actually a good footballer. He's just different to what we've seen over time. So,
but Luke, I think that's why he's a good signing, because he's different. because
Listen,
he's different. I
The
think
bully
you're
man
right.
get goals. Let Kai do the pretty stuff.
I'll
Yeah,
be pretty
exactly.
honest. Well, I had no. When I was asked what striker do you want, whether it was Gyökeres, whether it was Sesko, whether it was Ollie Watkins at the time, I was very confident that I didn't mind. Because I said, listen, when you come to play for Arsenal Football Club, you should get chances. I watched Mikel Merino have a lot of chances. I watched Kai Havertz, I've watched Jesus. The problem with those three, they're not naturally minded number 9s in terms of the killer mentality.
Like that.
But whoever you sign should get chances. And if they miss them, it's up to us to give them more chances. Now, I still think we haven't done that enough this season in terms of giving our strikers, Gyökeres in point, more chances during a game. I actually think the game that springs to mind was Fulham away when he had, I thought, 3 decent chances. And I came away from that going, yeah, but at least he was getting into the right areas. He was pinning the centre-backs. He was forcing Leno into decent saves. There's something to build on there. But when my striker is feeding off scraps and having one shot in a game, I don't really give them, I don't give them the rating as much because I'm thinking, like you say, play Sunday League. If I had one shot on a Sunday, I'm fuming that I've only had one shot. So it's just, no matter what level you play at, I want my strikers like Haaland. I know I'm not comparing him to Haaland, but Haaland can have 4 or 5 shots a game, and then we look and go, oh my God, Haaland scored 2 again. Yeah, but he's had 4 or 5 shots. So he's had, enough time.
It's a game of averages.
Salah. And Salah was the same. So how many chances did Salah miss? But he had a lot. And that's like more of a general point. But no, look, Gyökeres has been a very efficient signing for us, and he's helped us. And also, with Kai's injuries, with Jesus, not the same player as he once was, he plays a lot of minutes for us. And also, Gyökeres had an injury at probably the worst time, because that was the time when he was probably
finally finding his feet.
Finally finding. I think that Burnley away performance was one of the best all-round performances, with the goal, with the touch, with the hold-up play. I think the ball to Trossard for the 50-yard pass when people said he didn't mean it, which I think he did. But it was all coming together, and unfortunately he had that injury and then missed a few weeks and had to get up to speed again. So I think there's a whole conversation about Gyökeres, and I think even it's taken me a while to actually understand it, because I think we just put him up on such a high that we forget the pressures of playing for Arsenal Football Club. Because playing for Arsenal Football Club is a privilege, but also it's such a pressurised environment. So to do that...
And you've taken the number 14. And we've been dying for a forward. And we're trying to win the
league for the first time. And you're pinning it all on him. It's almost like, whoa. Like,
yeah.
I think we all need to relax. It's a lot. And that's why it's the same with Max in a different way. Because it's March the 16th and you're thinking, oof, like bringing him... And look, it's... you're bringing him on and you're thinking, yeah, but, there's Mascara behind him and he's young and he's still adapting to the Premier League and he's been brilliant. And you're thinking, if them two make, a little mistake, and you've got Njai on the left-hand side who's one of the most dangerous players. You don't want to kill these guys' confidence, but you also want to give them the trust at the same time. It's such a difficult balancing act. So sometimes I think we have to give...
that as well.
Yeah, and that's the thought. You have to give credit to the manager, but also credit to the players. And credit to Gyökeres as well, because let's be honest, he's not going to want to be on the bench on Saturday. He probably saw the team news and thought...
Yeah, he would have been annoyed. He would have been annoyed,
right? And
that's
why you want your health.
Rightfully so. You want them to be annoyed, but as you said, like he's taken a number 14 shirt. He's come in. It is a pressure, but it's a privilege as well. And I think he embraces that pressure. You're right. I think he embraces it, but it's looking like number 14 might help us get number 14, the 14th league title, lads. CJ talks about poetic. I'm not going to relax, Luke. I'm going to enjoy it, all right? I'm not going to relax.
Yeah, it's not mathematically
done.
What?
No, look, let me tell you why.
You don't feel like the angel and the devil on either shoulder, man, because I need to relax, but I want to get excited. I
want to get excited.
CJ, follow me, Brad. I'm the angel.
I can't,
trust me.
Luke, you might have lost the soldier, man. They're losing my head. I need this. It's feeling like it's
Luke,
right
I'm the
there,
angel in this situation because... Us Arsenal fans deserve to enjoy this. We've got to enjoy the running, Luke, bro.
But it's still not done. He's right, man.
It's not done.
Let me ask you a question. What's today's date?
16th
it is
of March.
the 16th of March, 2026.
Do you win the league on the 16th of March?
No, you don't. But let me,
can you enjoy it?
No. Yeah.
What did I say?
And to be fair, people thought it was over against Wolves, so we can't think it's over now, to be fair.
CJ, I didn't say it's over. I said it's looking like...
I thought it was done. Like, you got to be honest. Like, that's the thing. When you're an Arsenal fan, as much as, like, I like to think the three of us can be quite cold-blooded in our analysis, and as much as we can separate the emotion from the game. As a fan, you're gonna be emotionally tied, innit? But this is why we love the Premier League, innit? Because think about what a week or better yet 2-3 weeks could change. Think about how down and dubs we was then to how we are now. Like even someone like Gyökeres sums it up, because even the confidence, man. I'm sorry to go back over the Gyökeres thing, but the one thing I think with his confidence is I think he's finally accepted I'm an Arsenal player, as dumb as that sounds. And I always look for the silly things, innit? Like a couple of times he's had to be, like he scored against Atletico, for example. He's having to be pushed and like kind of cued to have his celebration. Now against Brighton, immediately I'm running off. So it's like, I'm here now, and that's expected. And it's what we know. It's almost like whether a player's going to be a flop in the Premier League or a success, it is always those 6 months that adapting on and off the field, those kind of things that unless you're a fly on the wall at training, you're never going to know. So shout out the boys. The one thing I would say is we finally got a squad in it. Like Dowman's come out of nowhere. Well, not out of nowhere, but he wasn't bought in the summer. He's come out of nowhere. Gyökeres, whether he starts or comes off the bench, he's doing his thing. Mascara, who can count himself a bit unlucky that I haven't got more starts owing to the quality in front of him, has come in and done well. And we all know there needs to be experience and things, but they've been trusted. Like, and you know, you look at someone like as young as Miles Lewis-Skelly or as old as Norgard. There might be opportunities. It doesn't have to be every player's individual best season, but this will be your most memorable season if we obviously do that. I wish we lived in a world where Gyökeres is on 20, Eze's doing a lot better, Saka, we all know about his struggles. Certain players like Odegaard are not in and out of the side, but if life was fair, we'd all have a lot less. We've got what we've got. Let's just get this over the line, man. And it does feel like the stars are aligning, boys, man. Let's just keep it. Oh,
Luke asked me what the date was. The date is the 16th of March. The next time we play in the Premier League is the 11th of April. So I understand what Luke's saying. There's a lot of football to be played, but there's some big games in that gap. We've obviously got the Carabao Cup final this weekend, Champions League second leg, and FA Cup tie against Southampton. So there's a lot of football to be played. So Luke is right. Maybe we should just temper it and just let it happen, not try and force it.
I've just got people on my phone.
You want to enjoy it now? Now you want to enjoy it?
No, it's not that. I've just got people messaging me, Kane, congratulations. I don't like that. That's too early.
Yeah, no, I'm not having that.
They don't mean it as well. They're hoping.
They don't mean they're like, congratulations on the title. I'm like, interested.
But look, don't let the Gary Neville brigade dampen your celebration. Don't let the celebration, because you have to enjoy it. You don't want it to be a stressful experience.
I'll tell you what, Saturday night at the Emirates was very stressful.
It was stressful.
And also, I didn't watch the West Ham second half. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I watched it, man. Shout out the Ayers. Do you know what I find mad? Yeah, and I know we haven't won the title yet. I know we haven't won it, but they talk about Arsenal fans copium. Do you know the insane amounts of external copium? We've gone from bottlers, second again, ole, to but you haven't won the Premier League in the way that excites us, and this and that and the other, and we ain't going over the line. Like, we need this, man, because I'm coming for everyone. The drafts are there, the receipts are there. Like you said, it's the 16th of March. Let's just keep going, man.
I mean, Luke won't let me tell you, people, but there is a world where Arsenal can win the league at the Etihad. Just saying, just getting it in there. Let's see if that happens. But before that, long before that, we do have the Champions League second leg against Leverkusen, boys. Let's quickly talk about that game. We can discuss the lineup, who we think is going to play. But it's a big game. Last 16. It's looking like if we go through, it'll be Bodo Glint in the next round, which is an exciting time because they're looking very good. But we must get past Leverkusen first at home. I'm relatively confident. I actually think the Everton game, playing in front of our crowd, in front of our people, playing there again on Tuesday. I'm glad we're back in there again so soon, because I think a lot of the feel-good factor from Saturday night will be in the stadium tomorrow night as well. So I think it's a huge opportunity for us to not just show people in the Premier League, but show Europe that Arsenal are a team to take seriously. But yeah, Luke, how are you feeling ahead of Leverkusen tomorrow? Are you confident we get the job done?
Yeah, I am. I'm interested to see what he goes with in terms of team selection. However, you just can't take any game lightly, because what you can't do is you can't lose this game, and then it's, you know, the front page on Wednesdays and the back page is Arsenal at the Champions League. Questions start asking. 4 days later, you play a cup final, and that's how football can change so quickly.
Do you think he'll pick his team based on the final, or he just won't even think about it?
We can't.
I think you've got to play the players that he wants to play, and I think you've got to think about the cup final on Wednesday. I think you have to take this game. You have to forget about Sunday. Sunday doesn't even mean anything right now, because tomorrow is the focus, and tomorrow is very important. You have to pick 11 players that you think are capable of winning that game tomorrow. I think he's got some decisions to make in terms of fitness. I think you have to Look at the left back situation. I think that's a brilliant decision to have. I mean, I think I love both of them equal measure in Calafiori and in Capier. Does he go with Mosquera? Does he start Ben White? What's the rationale behind that? I don't think Timber's going to make the final, so how does he look at that? I can expect Rice and Zubimendi probably to start. Again, I think Zubimendi was very good. Hopefully he's had enough rest. Maybe, I don't know if you can get away with starting him on the bench. And then the front three, I think he's got options, Gyökeres or Havertz. Even Gabriel Jesus potentially could make a start if he wants to, rotate the side. Trossard wasn't on the bench on Saturday. Has he been kept behind for tomorrow, or is he looking ahead to the cup final? Saka obviously is not having his best moment. I think Saka knows that. I think there was areas of frustration in himself, which I don't want him to have. I want him to still enjoy his football. Remember that he's carried us on his shoulders for so long. So I'm not worried about him. But what I don't want him to do is now start thinking about every touch and every pass and every action and just go and play your game because you're incredible at what you do. But then does Arteta want to take him out and then have his moment at Wembley, or does he want him to play through the form? I don't know. But with all of that, there's a game of football that we need to win, and I think you need to keep going with momentum. But look, I just sometimes think that we have a joke about the title and stuff, and it's a long way to go. I think Arsenal played 48 games this season. I think we lost 3. And I think we've just been absolutely incredible. And I just think sometimes that for us, it's so difficult because I always say this isn't an Arsenal, this isn't Arteta's Arsenal. It is, but what I'm talking about, this is a journey of 20 years from the 2 great teams we've seen in 07-08 to 13-14 to 15-16, teams that Arteta was part of. So it's the emotions and everything, and to talk about the title, being close, is wonderful, but it brings back all these memories, and it brings back all the times that we were down and out.
Man? You're giving me and CJ, you're giving us a little PTSD here, man.
He's bringing PTSD. He's spitting, but I'm just seeing all of the things he's talking about visually in my head.
But this is it. This is a beautiful moment, right? This is beautiful. This is what football's about. It's about creating moments, and it's about being on the journey. But tomorrow, obviously, is another part of that. And we have to go and win. What I just don't want to see is, I don't want to see a situation in where we're knocked down, and that we've got that. And also, we've got an international break on Sunday, right? So you don't want to be losing any of these 2 games and then having to dwell on it, because then the pressure comes back, and then boom, before you know it, it's April 11th. Look, enjoy it. It's beautiful. But win tomorrow and it's even more beautiful. Win on Sunday and then it's spectacular. And then genuinely, there you go. Here's a flip. We win tomorrow, win on Sunday. We've won a trophy. We've got, a very good opportunity to win the Premier League. 6 weeks to go. You never know. We might have an opportunity to do the unthinkable.
I mean, I didn't want to do it, Luke, but I was going to ask CJ.
I said
Luke
you might have,
man.
That's how football can change so quickly. And that's not me being, too naive, or that's not me being too, negative. That's just, taking it one game at a time. Don't look at the big picture just yet. Keep it ticking. We keep it moving. We keep looking forward. And the most important game is tomorrow. If you ask Mikel Arteta, are you looking forward about the title? I'm pretty sure he'll turn around and go, Leverkusen. If you ask Pep, what about the final? I think he'll turn around and go, Madrid, 3-0, come back.
Yeah.
What would they do? Because you can't lose sight of the bigger picture. Because they all have a knock-on effect in the next game you play. And I sound like a manager, but that's the way you have to live.
God's honest truth.
You have to look to Chelsea. And look, the next Premier League game is in April, right? And we're all desperate for Chelsea to take points. So long ago. It's so long away. The good thing is with Chelsea, they've got Port Vale in the FA Cup, so they can afford to rest a few players. And Chelsea's form right now isn't great, so they're going into that game as a must-win. That's perfect. But it's still a long way ago. It's 4 weeks away. 4 weeks away. I'll talk about that April the 9th, if you want.
Yeah, man. No, you can't look too far ahead. But, I mean, CJ, the Champions League, it's a trophy that has evaded us. I'm not talking, are we going to go on and win it? Like Luke said, that's way too far ahead. But tomorrow's important because of how it just keeps the momentum, the positivity going into a cup final. Once the Carabao Cup final's out the way, you haven't got to worry about that with the Champions League. It's just the league, the FA Cup and that. I mean, how important is it, CJ, that we get a good run of form in the Champions League to help us in other competitions, not just in that competition, but the Premier League, the FA Cup? Do you think it's important we don't sort of let other trophies fall by the wayside?
100%. And obviously, you want to win every bit of silverware possible. I don't think we're going to do the quadruple. Obviously, we've got a great chance to win the Premier League. We've got a great chance in the final, literally a 50% chance. The FA Cup, you see how it goes. Champions League, right now, we need to confirm safe passage to the next round. But obviously, it's kind of how it goes. But generally, it's momentum. You're training week in, week out. You're obviously playing week in, week out. It's just about momentum. It's always good to score goals if you're a player. It's always good to win games. Winning is infectious. We're in squeaky bum time, innit? It's as simple as that. If we want to win silverware, it doesn't really matter of the context of how we do it. Like, that time's gone now. Just win the games. If we're going to do it via set pieces, if we're going to stink out the gaff for 89 minutes and score in the 90th, it is what it is. Of course, we all want to play great, start fast, win games and put games to bed sooner rather than later. But it's just winning. Winning's imperative now. And, you know, we have been winning generally this season. We haven't had too many bumps on the road. It's always nice when, you know, players that have, you know, even Eze didn't pull up any trees, but that's probably his best performance and a better one in a hot minute, if I'm honest. And it shows that there's a bit of work in progress there. Saka obviously is having his issues, but every time you win and you're seeing your teammates pulling you through, that's obviously good. A couple of young players have come in. We just need to keep winning, man. This week is massive. Like, you've got 2 finals. End of the day, if anything, at this moment in time, we could potentially go out in the Champions League. Anything can happen. We're playing at home, as Luke said. You know, let's try and capitalise on our home form. Let's take full advantage of what we can do against Leverkusen, go and win that game. And only then, on Wednesday, as Luke said, can you focus on that cup final. Then you've obviously done your business in the Champions League, done your business in the League Cup final, done your business in the Prem. You lot go off to the international break. Obviously, I'm going to be scared with these players going and playing for their countries and just, you know, take that feel-good factor, come back, business as usual. What you don't want to do is, God forbid, but lose a cup final, go out of the Champions League. Obviously, there'll still be the positive of the Premier League, but you'd have mixed emotions going into a temporary pause in domestic and international football, innit? So we just need to keep going, bro. We just need to keep going. And I do make Luke right in that there's a lot of decisions for Mikel Arteta to make. You know, fitness going into the game at the weekend, now going into the game against Leverkusen, what that potentially could mean for Sunday. Obviously, the Champions League is the biggest competition. Is there rhetoric with resting or not resting? Is there rhetoric with playing your strongest team out there and just doing what needs to be done? But this is I do agree with when Mikel Arteta says this, but I don't when he says we've got to enjoy it. This is the most enjoyable part of the season. I don't think every football fan enjoys every moment of their club from now to the end, but it's business as usual. So if it's up to me and we're able to, the strongest team has to go out there. I guess it's needs must. I don't know what's going on with Timber. If Timber's not there, I'd probably bet on Mascara purely because you've got Timber that's played a lot of minutes and we probably expected him to get an injury. You've got Ben White that's been in and out. Clearly is not fit enough potentially to play significant minutes. Does he go with Kai Havertz or Gyökeres? Now, no 2 games are the same, but when I see Gyökeres' impact off the bench, obviously against Everton and how it started against Leverkusen, maybe there's logic with Kai gets to start, Gyökeres comes on against tired legs. What does he do at left back, as Luke said? Do you go with Calafiori? He looked well, but fitness type of thing. Do you go with Nkapie, who's using a great kind of moment? Midfield kind of picks itself. I guess it's need must. You're not going to not play Rice or Zubamendi. Eze's made that spot his own, but could you go with Kai in that role? Do you go with Saka in that role and bring Noni back to the right-hand side? Obviously, Noni was rewarded with a start at the weekend. I don't think you get a tune out of him as much as you can on the left as the right, but it's big decisions. And obviously, our man Trossard, we need to see if he's fit. Martinelli seems to turn it on in the Champions League versus anything domestically at this moment in time. For me, there's big decisions, but it's simple, bros. Just win every game. Just do that.
The beautiful thing with all that is that we trust them all. And that's the thing. If when we see the team sheet and 11 players are on the, you know, I trust them to go and win any football match, which I think is the best thing. It's not like, oh, why has he done that? It's almost like, okay, fair enough. Like, I understand that. And it's like, okay, one eye on Sunday, I get that. But, you know, it can be the Champions League and then it's the cup final. And then when we come back, it's obviously the FA Cup against Southampton on the 4th of April. And then on the Tuesday or that Wednesday will be the first leg of the quarter final. Then it's Bournemouth. So these cup competitions are now the focus. I have to be honest. We have to forget about the Premier League because now the Premier League is done.
I mean, thick and fast, man.
And now the cup competitions take prime focus. And it's going to be difficult because, look, say the worst happens on Sunday and say we do lose the cup final, then the FA Cup becomes more important than what it is now. Because if you do win the League Cup final, you have that situation of, look, we've won the trophy, we're very close to being, you know, the Premier League champions, you know, it could be a very good season. So maybe the FA Cup in terms of your priorities goes to the bottom of the pile because then you've got, you know, a Champions League quarter final, Bodo a very good outfit, however Arsenal will be expected to go through, I think that's fair to say. So then you have to look at that situation about, you know, a potential Champions League semi-final. But then, if you don't win the League Cup, then the FA Cup becomes more important, and then the Champions League becomes more important, and then you just don't know. So it's very, very. That's why it's easier just to look at one game at a time and not play too many. And also, the mental gymnastics in football are unbelievably crazy, because now we're trying to work out whether Real Madrid beating Manchester City is good because ahead of Sunday, because of the cup final, whether we want them to go through because then it's Bayern Munich before the Etihad.
It's so true.
I just think it's better just to focus on your own team and control your own destiny, because now I actually don't know the answer to that. I generally don't know. I'm sure the comments will let us know what's good on Wednesday. Do I want Madrid to do the comeback? City to do a comeback? I have no idea. Is it good if they win the game 3-1 on the night, because that's another psychological blow because they had a chance and then Real Madrid score for us? Seen that Mbappe's back, Bellingham's back
That
as
will
well.
come with a world of different opinions in the comment section as well.
I don't know, because ahead of Sunday, does that break them ahead of Sunday? Yeah, and it's too much to work out. Whereas I think supporting our team is a bit of an emotional rollercoaster as it is. So I prefer just to focus on us, and they can do what they can do. We can control what we do, and we take it one game at a time.
Well, we do play Leverkusen tomorrow, people. I'm confident. I mean, little score prediction, boys. Do we get a little score prediction in before we go? Or are we not,
2-0 Arsenal.
doing there? 2-0? I'll take a 2-0, Luke.
2-0.
What are you thinking?
Let's go 4-0.
4-0. No one's got penalties in extra time now.
No
I don't
extra
know, I
time
just
pens.
Listen, I just
you're
think...
That's another
if you're
possibility.
going
You can sit there
4-0,
in the minutes in the legs going into Sunday.
Yeah, no extra time or penalty. I think it will be I could say 3-0. I'll just go. I think we'll score, and I don't think we'll concede at home. I think Emirates is going to be bouncing. I want to see a pre-game huge Tifa, some kind. I want to see the light show going on. I want to see firework. We need to make this a cauldron. Like, I know Luke's doing it one game at a time, and he's right.
From
so
now to
let's
the end of the
treat this
season,
game.
anything we're playing at the Emirates and Wembley, to be fair. You're right.
Exactly. So let's treat this like it is the biggest game of the season and make a statement, show people that in the next round, in the round after that, you don't want to come to the Emirates because you're not going to get an easy game. It's not going to be pretty.
But
I think that's what helped us against Real Madrid last season.
Yeah, I just hope we blow them away in terms of we have too much for them and it becomes 1-0 and then it's 2-0 before half time and then they try to come out and play and then we 3-0 and then it might be at the end where you get 4-0. So it might look like a really resounding scoreline, but the way the game's played, look, they're going to have moments. They're going to have quality on the ball. Every team in the Champions League has quality on the ball. I did see that they played 9-man Bayern Munich on the weekend and drew 1-1. So
Bayern have got issues with their goalies.
Yeah,
apparently
they've got
they're
their goalie as well. Yeah, let's relax. I still think they'll go through. I still think they're only.
Oh yeah, well they're like 6-1.
They're my
It's
favourites
only
for the champs, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah. But look, we can talk about Champions League at a little later date. I just think right now we have to go on until tomorrow. Listen, I don't want to be like that, but I think it's best to be like that sometimes.
Luke's always trying to dampen the excitement, you know, but
listen,
someone has to. Someone has to do it because me and
I don't know if
CJ,
it's- I don't know
we
if
might
it's
just run
dampening
away with it.
Well, if you want to go out and do the street parade right now, feel free. But there's still
I'm
7
putting up
games.
the banners now. Me and the local council already started talking about where each banner's going, man. We're already starting to plan it
I'm
out.
planning my outfit, man. What time are we going?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I need to think about the outfit as well. I mean, I've got to look good. I mean,
I'm gonna get one of them
There
Arsenal
he
bucket
is.
hats, man.
oh, look, I've got to think about it. Oh, of course, you're thinking about it. I mean, look, Saturday was just, yeah, it just felt
Our time,
because you know
man.
what, a fair few people expected City to draw that game, and I was
Yeah.
like, the fact that people expect City to go and drop points is quite an alarming thing for me because
Especially
City
how
are
Pep
to
spoke
win.
before the game as well. If we lose this over and all that kind of crazy,
And
tried
then
to do the
Rodri-
rally cry thing.
Yeah, and then Rodri come out and said, look, pretty much done, which I thought was really weird. But whether that's a false sense of security, I don't know. But
Could
they
be
were
mind
like,
games.
it's mind
Yeah,
games.
could
But it's just, it feels really, really good. I felt Sunday was unbelievable. However, sometimes you just realise that you've still got 7 games in the Premier League. Nothing's changed for me, 6 wins. I'm not saying, this 5 wins, or if we win. Look, if we win at the Etihad, then obviously that changes, and I think it'll be 5 wins. And 5 wins right now, you can obviously grab your hand and reach and pull 5 wins out. Especially when you look at the fact that, no disrespect, Burnley at home, that seems to be probably the banker. I probably shouldn't say this, but with Fulham's affiliation towards Hale End, you would like to think that they wouldn't put their best game performance on
CJ,
that
this
day.
is the same guy who says he's not looking too far ahead.
No.
He is. He's
Well,
looking far ahead.
I'm just looking at the fixtures we've got, and I'm just looking at the fact that we've got a home game against Fulham, a home game against Burnley, a home game against Bournemouth, and a home game against Newcastle, which won't be easy because they now look resurgent for a place in the Champions League. But you'd like to have home games, and that's nice. We'd like to be with our people and play football matches, but I don't still look too far ahead. Listen, whatever will be. It could be, it just could be an unbelievable season, right?